Hello, today we're going to make another memory box card, but this time we're going to be using Twinkling H2O paints, and we're going to be painting a stamp with it, and then using our painted image onto the card, and we're going to be using the paint instead of inks. The technique that I'm showing you today would work with other watercolor mediums. You could use Tombows or Marvies or watercolor crayons, but I think because we're doing a holiday image that using a metallic paint just makes it look a little more festive. It has a little more bling to it. And unfortunately with the lighting where I'm filming, you can't really see the metallic sheen, but at the end of the demo I'll try adding a little more light so that maybe you can see it a bit better. But for now, you're just going to have to trust me that it's there. If you've never used Twinkling H2O's before, they are a watercolor paint, and right now I have just a little bit of water in them, so they're going to be a very strong metallic because of just having a little bit of water. If you add more and more water, they're going to act more like just a regular watercolor paint. You won't notice the metallic sheen as much. And although I have two different sizes, the small size is going to last you forever, so I encourage you to just get the smaller size. For the particular card we're doing today, I was inspired for the colors from the paper itself. This is the new Spiceberry paper from Memory Box, and I thought this burgundy red was a nice, kind of what I imagine a poinsettia to look like. But there's also a lighter pink and a bright green in the paper, and so that helped me choose the colors that I did for the card. And the first time I stamped the pink, it's always good to do a tester sheet or two to choose your colors. The pink matched the pink in the card, but it's just not very dynamic at all, if you can see that. The color's right, but I didn't like the finished look. So I changed it a little bit, and so I'll talk about that when we're actually painting the stamp itself. So I'm getting ready to paint. The first time that you color a stamp, paint a stamp, if you notice that your paint is rolling off the edges, a lot of times that's just because it's a newer stamp. I've got some paper towel stuck. I'm getting rid of that. And it has the manufacturing film that protects the stamp on it. And if you just stamp it and ink it and clean it, it sort of wears that film off and your paint will stick so much better. So if it's a new stamp, the paint's not adhering, my advice is just to stamp it a few times, clean it a few times, scuff it up, and your paint will adhere that much better. So I'm going to go ahead and start painting. And if you notice, I'm picking up my paint from the thick pasty section in this pot. I'm letting the water drain to one end and just picking up the pasty part on one side. Like that. I'm cleaning off to the side, but before I apply the next color, I'm going to make sure to dry it because I don't want to add a lot of water to my next color of paint. I'm going to pick up the green again, pick it up from the pasty section, and color my stamp. Horizontal motions so that I don't get a lot of color buildup on my stamp. I really like this flat brush for applying paint to my stamp. You can get these really cheap anywhere. I don't necessarily buy an artist quality. Clean my brush, dry it, and then I'm going to pick up the hot cinnamon. This is hot cinnamon. I'm using moss green and fuzzy peach on my card. Twinks have a lot of colors that are very similar though, so you might have something in your stamping drawer that's very similar in color. And although I did a base layer of pink and I'm now covering the entire thing with a darker color, which seems a little counterintuitive, when I stamp it and let it dry, that base layer of pink is actually going to show through. I'm using regular cardstock. I'm going to spritz it a couple times, and I'm going to stamp it. I'm going to let it sit here just for a second so that the paint has a chance to go into the paper, because if you were to just tear that stamp right off, you'll notice little splatters of paint going everywhere, and it'll get on your project. And I wish I could tell you that 2 spritzes and stamping was the perfect number, but it really varies per stamp, and you just need to test it out. This is a couple stampings that I did. This one, I did not get enough water, and you can see it's missing a few areas of color. And this one ended up really blobby, but actually as it dries, I kind of like that it's a little blobbier, a little more watercolor look. So do tester sheets and then adjust your water accordingly. Pull that off, and you could hear it made kind of a sticking sound as I pulled it off. That means I probably should have done a little more water to it. I just spritzed it a couple more times. Pull that out, get another stamping out of it, and you would just keep going with this. And sometimes it's going to look really blobby, and I don't know if I'm going to like it, but don't make any decisions to throw anything away until it's completely dry. Because although it's starting to lose a little bit of definition, I might really, really like that when it's dry. I'm going to go back to the first one I did, and there are a couple little areas, like this leaf right here, that it looks a little dry. So I'm going to go over it with a water brush and just soften it up. And any areas that didn't get enough water, I'm now adding. Because as I say in my classes, it's all about the fix. Because most of the things I stamp the first time, I don't like it. So I got to fix them. So that's what it's going to look like when it's stamped. I then just cut it out. And if I go back to my first card to show you, this is the finished product. I'm also going to pull out, let me see this one, see if we can see this one. I'm turning on more light. I don't know if I can get it so that you can see the metallic quality to it or not. I'm really hoping that you can. But trust me, when it dries, that metallic sheen will pop right through. So just as a couple of finishing things, this is my finished card. I added some Mars paper from Memory Box, which is a metallic red, because anytime I think you do a focal image that has metallic to it and you put metallic behind it, it just makes the finished effect that much more dynamic. So I'm hoping I can see the metallic, so I'm hoping you can too. But that's it. And then to finish it, I just added a little bit of the 24 karat pearls because I thought that looked a little more like a poinsettia, but it also picked up these yellow dots in the paper. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helps you use your Twinkling H2O's. Thanks.